In Geometry Dash, there's quite a large range of difficulty in Gauntlet levels. The easiest Gauntlet levels are around the 3-star range, while the hardest Gauntlet levels are normally no harder than medium demon difficulty. But there's something different about the Doom Gauntlet. It contains 2 easy demons and a medium demon, but it is the only Gauntlet with hard demons, having 2. So, I beat Geometry Dash's hardest Gauntlet to see how tough it really is. The first level is Extinction. Admittedly, I beat this in 2.1 on mobile, but I decided to rebeat it to cover the whole Gauntlet in this video, so I'll be writing my review based on a different experience to the rest of the levels. My memories from originally beating it was that I struggled quite a bit, and considered it one of the hardest things I beat on mobile, but this time I rebeat it quite quickly with little practice, due to being better at the game, and also still having some muscle memory left. Extinction utilises a flow-like gameplay style for the drop, with the beginning of the drop being my favourite part to play, as it feels kind of floaty in a way, before getting faster paced and harder as the level goes on. The level's dull, grimy colour scheme creates an abandoned prison-like feel, but I'm also a fan of the custom artwork adding some extra character to the standard block designs, such as the blood and bones. Spoiler alert, this deco style is going to be a reoccurring theme. I enjoyed playing this a lot upon my rebeats, but I know I would have more positive memories if I beat it for the first time now. Next up is Buried Angel. This level uses a glow style with dull colours, which I'm not usually a fan of because it's not a particularly original or appealing style in my opinion, but it uses a horror theme to spice it up. The majority of the level uses very tight and compact gameplay, which is admittedly quite a simple idea, but I feel like it's rarely seen in levels. This claustrophobic feel is exacerbated by the overlay of black spikes surrounding the whole screen. The gameplay also syncs in a very satisfying way, combined with the red flashes giving a pop of colour, making the level just very fun to play in general. Even the more generic sections at the start and end of the level have some characterising horror decoration to them. Buried Angel is a fresh spin on the glow style, which is commonly criticised for being uninteresting. The only thing is, after coming from Extinction, which I would consider on the harder end of easy demons, this was a bit easier to me. The midway point of the Doom Gauntlet is its only medium demon, Shrill Hallway. I was expecting a step up in difficulty, which I somewhat got, but the gameplay was hugely unbalanced. The last 60% of the level was lower end easy demon difficulty, requiring a minimal amount of practice. Most of the difficulty came from consecutive ship and UFO sections, consisting of a ship section with tight club set monster gaps, before a UFO part with a click pattern that took a while to get used to. There were also a couple blind transitions, but I could have practiced them a bit more in fairness. But it meant that most attempts I would either die to the choke point or a transition. Visually, this level has quite an interesting contrast between ordinary blocks and custom artwork. For example, the boss design is inspired from the Gauntlet's icon, but my personal favourite example is the GD icons impaled on sharp bones. With a couple slight balancing and gameplay improvements, this would be a seriously fun level. Not to say it isn't enjoyable though in its current state. And now, it's time for the Doom Gauntlet's claim to fame. The first of its 2 hard demons. No wise. This is my 4th hard demon completion, and I feel like I'm starting to get to the skill range where easy end hard demons don't feel too difficult, which is incredibly satisfying. Speaking of this level being satisfying, the gameplay was incredibly fun too. The song changes a lot and very quickly, which is perfectly matched by the gameplay with its fast-paced, dynamic feel. It was also nice to see the boss properly incorporated into the gameplay every time it appeared, which is surprisingly uncommon. This adds to the world building really well. Although No Wise does have some design level elements, it has the best artistic theming so far, using a variety of rocky decoration to give the level an underground ruin feel. My favourite section is the tense part full of tight robot clicks where you're being chased by zombies, perfectly setting up the drop. Plus, this boss design wraps up this level's theming excellently, being an unsettling skeleton reminding me of a dinosaur. This exacerbates the ruin vibe and a feeling that you've unearthed something you shouldn't by being there. No Wise was so fun to play that I beat it in one sitting, which I've not done for any levels anywhere near this difficulty. The Doom Gauntlet's finale is Darkness Keeper. This level has an epic feel to it, with some of the best progression and storytelling I've seen in an early 2.1 level. You're also fighting the boss, a fiery dragon-like creature throughout the whole level, fully embedding it into the level's theme. The level starts off with the first section of the boss fight, set on a ruined volcanic planet. With all the boss attacks, this section for me was the only part that required a decent amount of learning. After that you're thrusted into space with an ominous section filled with floating debris, before the boss returns, fighting you atop pieces of volcanic rock. The final showdown then takes place in a crumbling castle in space. Plus, the boss is properly incorporated into the whole thing, unlike many levels where the boss seems to be just an afterthought at the end. Although, my main problem with this level is that some of the attacks didn't feel very well signposted, especially the fire beam attacks, where I felt a lot of the time I would click where the jump indicators were and I would still die. Besides the first boss fight, I didn't find most of the level that difficult, which meant a lot of my deaths towards the end were from the slightly unclear boss attacks. However, this was the only flaw in the incredible level. So, now that I've beaten all 5 levels, what do I think about the Doom Gauntlet? First, let's address my main thing of note about this gauntlet before playing: the difficulty. In my opinion, the first 3 levels aren't too tough, but No-Wise is probably the hardest level in all the gauntlets from what I've played. With that, I would consider the Doom Gauntlet to have the hardest individual level, but something like the Water Gauntlet springs to mind as having a higher average difficulty, with its full XL medium demons. I do like all of these levels visually, so I do think the first 4 levels have quite a similar style. I beat the whole gauntlet over a span of about a month or so, due to being busy with school, and I must admit I struggled to remember much about what each specific level looked like towards the end, but I can't fail to mention this gauntlet's consistent quality throughout. I quite like all of these levels, making them quite difficult to rank. That's all I've got, so let's end this video off with my rankings.